minutes. Is that cool?
Very cool.
Hey, we're already rolling. We're already talking. Got the man right here, Joe Miller, in the building. We share a last name. We do share a last name, but we're not related at all. I don't think.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
I mean, I mean maybe somewhere down the road, but I mean, not that I know of.
Well, you got a much cooler first name, that's for sure.
Hey, it could have turned out really bad. When my dad named me Gunner, it could have turned out real bad as far as the perception of me. So I figured when you grow up, you got to be kind of a little bit bigger, a little bit intimidating, and
Yep,
probably a halfway decent athlete to be named Gunner. You can't throw the ball slow. You'd have to be, halfway decent. But it is what it is. But what's up, man? What's going on?
it's. I mean, I'm just excited to be here. I know it's. I was just thinking this morning when I talk about social media. I know you're a big fan of social media. I am too. You're much more into it than I am. But this connection was made strictly from LinkedIn.
Yeah, I know. So LinkedIn is a crazy platform, especially when it comes to like sales and business. I think. I mean, obviously you can use
Yep.
it for different reasons, but just to make connections in logistics and sales and then the industry and then business. I mean, the options there are limitless, and I mean you do a good job at it as well. I'm learning everything that I do. I'm learning. I'm just trying to put out as much content as possible, trying to grab as many people as possible, get as many eyeballs, and try to be a halfway decently known product out there. But so when did you get involved in the social media game and all that?
Well, I do. I mean, I really like, I got started on Twitter is where I really got started, and then when Twitter kind of hit the bricks and it was going crazy, I just kind of got off it. But I actually a couple days ago got back on it once Musk opened it up again. So we'll see how it goes. It's a
Yeah,
I like the quickness of Twitter. I like the speed. Things are happening quickly. I love that. But on the thing about LinkedIn that I really like is that I'm making connections with business people. I know exactly who I'm talking to or interacting with. And the thing I think about LinkedIn, like you do a really good job of, you got to connect with people. You got to interact with them. If you're just sending messages out, you'll be okay. But it's not the same as trying to develop a relationship. And when you get that is when you get some really deep connection. And that's when I think the snowball starts to happen and you get some followers going.
sure. Yeah, I was listening to Gary Vee, and he said that the best way to provide content is just to find the content that people put out that's really good, and then comment on the content. Try to be the best piece of knowledge that is in the comment section. He said that's the
Yep.
easiest way to kind of get known. So I've been doing that a little bit. He has this whole game plan where you need to put out like 100 pieces of content a day. That's tough. That's tough. I mean, I know
That's
he does it,
tough.
but that's what he gets paid to do. So it's tough when you're doing it by yourself, but it's a game, man. I had a guy on my podcast the other day, Nikolai. We kind of crossed paths in Chattanooga, sports and stuff, and he's got a huge following. I don't know if you've seen the podcast, but I recommend you check it out
I
because it's
will.
all social media. He's got a huge following. He's got over 300,000 people on his personal YouTube, over
Wow.
150 on another one he's created, 800,000 on TikTok. He's got like 2 million complete followers, and it's all organic by himself.
That's awesome.
So,
That's really
and he's
incredible.
done it over and over again, so it's not a fluke. So he's been giving me some tips, and it's all simple. It's just doing
It
it.
is. It's doing it and finding the time to be able to do it. I think, Gary Vee's strategy. I mean, early on when he was doing Wine Library, he would be on Twitter at night, just going back and going back and going back. And he'll tell that story. But then he realized he could take long form content like this, break it up into pieces, and then distribute it across different channels. That really
And
was how he got going.
that seems to be the game. Kind of shoot one long footage, chop it up, and put it out on every different medium, and then just kind of see
Exactly.
what sticks. And they say if you get one view, that's better than no views, right? Um,
I've heard many
so
a story about one view. About one view got
right,
him to some.
right, and you
Oops.
never know exactly who's watching it, who's seeing it. Did I lose you?
Hang on one second. I'm going to switch gears here. I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go. Man, you got multiple microphones over there.
Yeah, I do. This one should have. I don't know why. I had this one charged up.
That's
Anyway,
all
go
right.
ahead.
No
Let's
big.
roll. Let's roll. Don't worry about it. It's good for right
Let's
now.
do it. So hey, let's jump in. You've been in sales for a long time. Kind of
A
jump
long
in how
time.
you got started in sales, and you know, I guess some of the struggles at the beginning, and then we'll bounce around a little bit. So how'd you get started into the sales game?
Got started when I was in uh, about 22, 23 years old. I was in college at LSU. I majored in screwing up. I was just a complete party machine. That's all I ever did. So, it wasn't that I was stupid. It was just that I was undisciplined. And that undisciplinedness took me out of school. And I actually left LSU. But I started working. I was literally about three hours away from my degree at LSU when I left. And it was a bad scene, man. I'm just telling you, it was a bad scene. It was rough. So I was working in a laboratory in New Orleans, a medical lab, and I saw these people coming in, nice suits back in the day, right? Nice suits, really dressed well, taking me out to lunch and company car. I'm like, man, I could do this stuff. And then I just started putting resumes out. Landed one with a small dermatology pharmaceutical company called Stiefel Labs, and man, I was freaking hooked. But I'll tell you what, when I started, I was scared out of my boots, man. You would sit in front of a doctor back they called it the detail guy. They did, because you would actually sit in front of a doctor and go, doctor, today I'm here to talk to you about bloom. It was just a memorized presentation, and you go through it. And I was nervous as hell. But then I started to kind of get my sea legs, and I figured I can really, really do this. And that's when it started. And I had a fantastic mentor. I left that position later on. We moved. My family moved to Houston, so we came here. I had no job, and found a company called Beringer Mannheim Diagnostics, which is a big company. It's now part of Abbott. And I had a mentor. His name was Rodney Kovar, and I still call him Daddy. We're still friends. We're very close. And he he turned it all around for me. I mean, it was it was just like football, right? Shine your shoes, do all the basic stuff you have to do every day. Set your
Mhm.
calendar ahead of time, set your route. We didn't have, we were we were mapping stuff out then. There was no
Sure.
Google Maps or any of that stuff. So we would map it out the day before, have your presentations ready, pre-call plan when you go in. He'd sit with you. What's the plan for this call? What are you doing? Post-call plan. What did you do after? He was a really great manager because he would let you really screw up in a call. He would not say a word. He would let you sit. He would just sit there, and he would go. And I look at him like that sometimes, and he just would look away, and he would just like, "You're gonna
Right.
fall on your face." And
Right.
he did. I fell on my face many times, and we get in the car. He goes, "Okay, what could you have done there? What could you have done?" And that experience of screwing up in sales calls when it was really on the line, and you're in front of your manager. Actually, he was my boss's boss, and
Sure.
when you screw up like that, you learn quicker. I mean, I hate to say it, it gets knocked around a lot about making mistakes, but I made a lot of them, man, a ton of them, and that's
Right.
how I learned. But I also had a great boss. So I had a guy who really, really coached me, and that made a big difference, big difference in my life. So
Well, hey,
that was the thing.
so so pharmaceutical, medical sales, all growing up, pretty much.
Yeah.
Are you still doing that?
Well, in a way, so I go from there. So I go from pharmaceutical sales, then I'm selling large pieces of capital equipment, big scanners, MRI scanners, CT scanners, that kind of thing. So it was big, what they call big iron. And that was a fun job, but completely different because now you're managing the whole process. You've got these deals don't happen every day. And one of my other great bosses said, if you miss this one, don't worry about it. You got 5 years to think about it. And today it's probably 10 years because they just don't move
Right.
that equipment around that much. But I went from that. Then 6 years ago, I happened to run into a guy uh, who's now my boss, and I guess my mentor in a way too. Is that he owned a company called CSAT Solutions, and no one will know who they are, but they probably have dealt with them. Uh, they are the depot service for Dell, for a lot of Apple's products, and all of Lenovo. So they're doing all the repair work, in warranty repair work for those companies. So thousands and thousands of computers a day, thousands of employees. He built that whole business by himself, one board at a time. It was incredible. So they'll fix anything on a computer down to the very component levels on the board. So we were talking, and he goes, I opened some of these medical devices, and they're just computers. why aren't we fixing these things like we did for the big for Dell? And that's what we've done. So we're going after the big OEM guys in the medical space that I know, and then we're trying to do the same thing from them. That's the goal of the whole thing we're doing.
Huh. So pretty much refurbishing old equipment. Is that what it is for the most
Yep.
part?
Yeah, and we're in an environment now where old equipment is pretty important because there's not as much spending on new gear as there used to be.
Right. Well, I guess with that equipment, I'm sure it has chips and different types of technology in it that you probably can't even get right now to create anymore, kind of like the new cars. Is that kind of the
That
same
is
problem?
It is. So a lot of like some of the stuff we're doing, we're buying old equipment. We're buying it off of auctions and then taking it and extracting those, you know, those pieces and parts off of that to then rebuild it. That's the strategy we've had to go to because chips are not easy to come by anymore. Very, very
So
difficult.
is a lot of this selling, over the phone, digital selling, Zoom conferences, or is it more pharmaceutical type where you're knocking on doors, going and seeing people? Like, how's it work?
Yeah. So it's all for me. It's initial contact, LinkedIn, phone call. And now I've really added video to that whole piece. By the way, I think video is probably the most important thing. Phone call number one, video number two. I think I've
Okay.
sent you one or two videos. So
No, yeah, they're
uh,
really sweet. I've went through the whole thing, so it's pretty sweet.
yeah, so I would say phone call one, that two. We do, and now we opened it up again. Trade shows, probably three or four. When you're talking about multi-million-dollar deals, you're going to have to be in front of somebody's face. I mean, I'd
Sure.
like to say you could do it all by Zoom, and I would certainly like to sit here and do it by Zoom. But matter of fact, after we get out of here, I'm going to fly to Dallas and then up to Orlando. So it's face to face. I mean, but once you really get the product rolling and you get the repair right, you know exactly what you're doing, it gets pretty cookie cutter after that. So then it's just I just need it. That is a logistics play after that. When are
I
we
got you.
getting it? How are we shipping it? So
Right.
when I saw you were in logistics, I went, yeah, we're kind of in that business too. So you imagine we're shipping thousands of computers and parts every day.
Okay, so question with that, how does that work? Is there somebody that handles all the shipping, or is it like a
All
warehouse that it comes to? Is it full truckload?
Yeah, it's all done by FedEx. Everything. So let's use a computer for an example. If you're depending on what level of service you're getting, we ship the box out to the client. They put it in a box. It comes back. All that's done via FedEx. So
Gotcha. So it's small
uh,
partial. It's kind of from residential to you guys for the
yep.
most part, I guess.
For the most part, we do corporations too, but it's the same. This concept's still the same. For instance, that we also do uh, some corporate management stuff. Big insurance
Hmm.
companies, people that have a lot of laptops, but
Hmm.
generally it's boxes, yay big. So
Right. Huh.
and that's kind of what we wanted to do in the medical business too, because we got such sweet rates from FedEx. So we we want to be able to capitalize on that. So
Right.
IV pumps, things that are small, that we can
Sure.
fix that are electronic are probably right in the sweet spot for us.
I would assume everything medical is going electronic here eventually, right? Wouldn't it?
Everything is everything's digital now. I mean, it's crazy, and the prices that people charge for the repair of those products are outrageous,
Yeah, I
just
bet.
outrageous.
The prices for freight right now is outrageous too. So I mean, it
Yeah, it
kind of just
is.
goes downhill.
Absolutely. Now, this is a question I don't know, but I'm thinking: is the price for freight related to the
You just cut out on me. Uh-oh. Well, we may have lost him. There he is. He's coming
ah?
back. I can hold it
Am
on.
I back?
Hey, yeah, well, you're back. Your face is not here, but I can hear you.
There
I
we
can.
go.
There
Sorry
he
about that.
is. Hey, the good thing about me doing a podcast every week is I can kind of hold my own by myself for a little while. So you're good. If you fall off,
You never know where that might go.
I'm
All right.
used to talking to a screen by myself, so it's fine.
So, how much of the pricing today is scarcity of the people to do it? I mean, I know certainly the the, the price of gasoline or diesel is that's part of it.
Yeah,
How much
right.
is it just the scarcity of finding people that can work?
I mean, I would say one of the things is not people that can work, but people that want to work.
That's a good point.
You know, obviously, there's a lot of truck drivers out there, but we could use even more. There's so much supply and demand. So I had a guy on yesterday. I don't know if you listened to that one either, Jim Tompkins, and he was talking. He's big into the supply chain, and he was talking about how it's kind of the first time ever that we've had too much supply and too much demand, and not enough people to distribute it.
It's amazing.
So it's an amazing time, and a lot of it has to do with the ports. I was reading something from Craig Fuller that he posted out earlier from Freight Waves. So he was talking about how this is the most containers backed up so far since June 2020. So he put out on Twitter, he was like, hey, you should probably stock up on your school supplies and your school clothes going into August now, because it's probably not going to be here at the end of the summer.
It's amazing.
It's just interesting. I mean, it's just, it doesn't matter how many truck drivers there is or how many, trucks there is out there or how much freight there is. The market's always going to go up and down. And we've seen it constantly, even in freight. It's went up a little bit and it's went down a little bit. Now it's starting to come down a little bit. So it's not a bad thing. It is what it
Yep.
is. But the biggest thing is just having it. In our industry, freight is king. So,
Yep.
I don't know, like in your industry, I'm assuming it's finding the people to sell it to. So in ours, it's actually finding the freight to be able to distribute it. That's the biggest thing
Wow.
for us.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So tell me a little bit about the differences in selling neck. You've been selling how many years? 30
35 years,
years,
man.
35 years.
35.
Okay. 35 years. So what's the difference in selling the first 15 years you were selling compared to the last 15?
I think it took 2 years just to get comfortable. I mean, maybe not 2 years, but it took a while to get comfortable doing it. And then once you got the confidence you can do it, I just felt I could sell anything. It was just a
Sure.
matter of maybe learn, and it wasn't that much of learning the product. Even when I was selling, high end capital equipment, I didn't know as much about that stuff as any of the guys, but I could get the guys who knew in front of the right people. So they had
Sure.
applications people that knew how to run that machine, like crazy. Um, all I had to do is really get to the point where I could get the demo. That's all I really needed to do. Once I got that, I could get all the infrastructure in place to make the rest of it happen. But it was, it's a different transition when you're going from sitting across from a doctor's desk every day, telling them to recommend a product, to now you're getting somebody to drop $2 million on a scanner, and it's a big decision. You got a lot of people in place. You got you got a lot of technical stuff going on, particularly back then when you were trying to network computers together back in the late 90s. I mean, that was a big deal. And
Sure.
everything was proprietary. You couldn't you couldn't connect from one place to the other. It was a nightmare. And then how you
Right.
cited the product. I mean, on an MRI, you'd have, obviously you'd have construction issues and siting issues. Could you put it on the second floor? Could you not put it on the second floor? Where was it? Were they going to stick it outside in a trailer? Or what were they going to do with it? So there was a lot more to it. It was a lot more interaction, which I personally liked because that's where people generally drop the ball. And it always gave me a reason to go back and talk to somebody because there was always
Sure.
something going on, always.
Yeah.
So
So when you're talking about a sales process, I mean, obviously, actually, let's just go ahead and get to it. You're a Grant Cardone guy.
I am.
I'm a big Grant Cardone guy. How did you jump into that? How did you find out about him? How long ago was that?
Whew, it's a good question. It has to be at least 6, 7 years ago when I found him. I'm sure I found him on social media. I mean, he was back then. He was doing all that himself back in the day when he first got going. When we talked
Yeah.
about 100 pieces. He was doing it all himself. He
Sure.
is a marketing machine. There's no doubt about it. But that's where I got into it. Now during that when the pandemic hit, he had put out a word that, hey, I'm giving away licenses. I think it was like $5,000 or something like that. I went, I'm in, man. I'm going to take that license, even if I was just if I used the $5,000 myself just to put it on myself and didn't sell it ever again, I thought it was a good deal. So
Sure.
his content is really good. And the stuff he's done with Lightspeed to make it an educational platform is really good. I mean, it's really good stuff. Um, like man, I'm 61 years old. I'm still studying, Yeah,
Well, you have to, right? I mean, if you're
you
going to keep
have
being
to.
in the
Yeah.
game, you got to keep up with the game, and that means you got to keep up with the methods. You got to keep up with the practices that all the young kids are doing. I feel like I'm getting older. I'm getting on up there too, man. I'm 31. I'm about half your age, but I'm still
Oh
behind.
man, you're ancient. But I
Hey,
mean, just
man.
like we were talking about the video thing, right? I mean, it's amazing. I talk to guys that, on LinkedIn, guys that promote video, like you should be shooting video, you should be shooting video. They were teaching courses on video, and I hit one of them on LinkedIn the other day with a video. Like, is anybody sending you a video on LinkedIn? And I go, no, no one.
Yeah, yeah,
It's it's still amazing. I mean, I don't like looking at my face. I don't like hearing my voice, but I know it's effective.
sure.
So, and eventually you get, just like when I was selling early in my career, it's the same thing. It's just getting used to doing it. And then it becomes easier and easier. And it doesn't have to be, more Martin Scorsese stuff. It's
Right.
just quick, boom, quick video to your
Yep.
client. Here's what we're working on. Here's what we're doing. Can we help you with this? It's not very difficult at all.
No.
At all.
Grant says or I guess all of his guys say too as well. Just take it and post it. Don't worry about it. Don't edit it. If you said the wrong word, if you stuttered, if your hair's messed up, you got boogers hanging out of your nose, don't worry about it. Just send it.
I'm sure you
And that's
heard
the
him
biggest.
say. I'm sorry. I'm sure you heard him say when he wrote his first book. I mean, Grant's not. If you listen to him read a book, he's not elegant, And
Right.
he tells a story with his first book when it was Sell or Be Sold. He said there were more grammatical mistakes in that book, and it wound up being a bestseller. And he would get people all the time
Sure.
calling him. You got a mistake here? He's like, hey man, it's a bestseller. It's good enough.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. He's like, it's not a best written book. It's a best selling book. You know. He kept saying, because I went down to the 10x boot camp in Miami. I went. It was in February. It was really good stuff, man. Just to be around, 2,000 people that are kind of like-minded and kind of
yep,
taking in the same Kool-Aid, and everybody's doing the same thing. And because I get it. Listen, all these guys, they get a bunch of slack, I would say, because they get considered like fake gurus, right? Like Grant Cardone's gonna be considered a fake guru. Brad Lee's gonna be considered a fake guru, even though he created Lightspeed, even though Grant created Cardone University and Cardone Capital and Cardone Ventures and all this stuff. They're fake gurus, right? They're
yep,
not. I mean, these guys just they've figured out a way to do it, and they know how to monetize how to do it, and they just do it in an entertaining way. And some people just
yep.
can't stand it because they're sales guys and they know what they're doing. Like they know how to grab attention. They know how to get you to click on a link to get to a landing page, to get your email, to get your information, to then follow up with you like crazy, because that's where the magic is. I mean, you know where it is. Like
Yep.
it's all in the
Absolutely.
follow up. It's not the cold call. It's not the LinkedIn message. It's not the post, the video, the email. It's the follow up, doing it 10, 12, 15, 100 times until you finally get the person to say, you know what? I want to do it either because I like it, because I think it's the right decision, or because I'm just tired of dealing with you and I want you to go away. Either way, it's a win.
That's true. It's
Either
a
way, it's a
win.
win.
That's right, man. That's true.
So I,
Yeah, the
I love
follow-up piece
Cardone.
is really critical.
I love the stuff. All of my guys, we all do it every morning. We all have to do three sessions every morning. But so most of my guys are to the advanced stage on the curriculum. Have you went through the whole program?
I have. It's good. I've done all of it. But the
That's
thing is,
crazy. That's a
I
bunch of
go through
stuff.
it again. It's like a good book for me. It's just start over, do it again, do it again.
Yeah.
20 minutes, half hour a day. That's all it
Yeah.
takes.
Well, it's great. As soon as you wake up, or the first thing you do when you get to the office, if you get there early, is just it puts you in the right mindset. It get you thinking the right way. Maybe you hear something that you've heard 100 times, and you hear it a little bit different this time. Just it's like an
That's
audio
right.
book or reading a book, multiple times, and it just clicks. Because that's all. I mean, Grant says this too. We read all these books, read all these articles, listen to all these podcasts, and all we're doing is trying to find that one nugget that kind of gets us through the day and makes us a little bit better. And maybe you have to read the book 100 times to get that one golden nugget that was on page 37 at the bottom. But you get it,
It's true.
and
I mean,
then
it's
you
true.
can apply it. But the hardest thing
That's
is
the other
action.
piece, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you hit it. Yeah, it's
yeah,
you can read a lot, and
sure,
I've seen guys say, and I think it's true, is that you can take reading as a procrastination of not doing the action.
sure.
Um, So you're right. I mean, you've got to take it and apply it and do it. And without the doing, it's never going to happen.
Yeah, a lot of people think the reading is the action or the organize. I used to, so in school, I was terrible about this. My notes would be color coded, organized, perfect, and I wouldn't study at all. Like, but it looked good. I was prepared. I was prepared to study, to do the action, but I
I
never did
understand.
the action.
I
So, but I made it.
I
I
think
made it through.
everybody's been there.
Yeah,
Everybody's
no,
been
I
there.
made it through. I made it through. So you're doing it. So it's CSAT. That's the name of the company. CSAT.
CSAT. Yeah.
Okay.
It's supposed to stand for customer
So
satisfaction as far as I know.
gotcha. So that's the main gig right now. That's pretty much
That's
what you're
my main
doing.
gig. Yeah, and I do that as a 1099 guy. So I'm really a consultant. So
Are you
uh,
1099 in everything you do?
yes, I am. Everything.
So okay. So you're eating what you kill. You're straight. Whatever you sell, that's your money. So you're out there really hustling.
Absolutely. If it doesn't
Have
ship,
you
I don't eat.
have you always been like that?
No, this was really a transition about the last 7 or so years. Most of the time
Okay.
it was big base and then commission. And then some of the commissions were hefty. I mean, some of the
Right.
commissions were, even on the big base, the commissions were bigger than the base salary.
Sure.
But some of them were, and some of the bigger companies would base you up higher than commission, which sounds like a great deal because it's secure, but really it's just a way not to pay you more commissions.
Yeah. Well, I know several guys that have, taken a what they thought was a larger, safer salary at the time, and then I guess they don't trust themselves, or they just don't know that they're going to hit that big account, and then they hit that big account, and then they're like, oh, what if I had this commission plan though for this account? And it's like, nope, you got the salary, it's safe. That's what you got. So
Yeah.
it's
And
or
it does sound like a good strategy. And maybe for some people it is, but if you're really about trying to maximize the amount of money you're going to make, it's not a good strategy.
sure.
It's just not.
I like a mixture of both. I like a good commission plan with a smaller base. I think that might be for most salespeople that are a little iffy getting into the field because when people hear sales, they get nervous, they get antsy, they don't want to do it. Some people just
Yep.
can't do sales, even though just because you think you can't do sales doesn't mean you wouldn't be a good one. A lot of times, people that don't think they would be good salespeople would be the best salespeople because they have all the skills, the action to it. Maybe not the influence of being so extroverted, I guess, like some of us are. But I mean, there's a bunch of good salespeople out there that are not selling.
I could not agree more. And most of them don't think they can be good salespeople, and that's not
Hmm.
true. They can, I have a philosophy that I came around really pretty recently because I was like, got to have skills, got to have sales experience. My new thing is give me good attitude, and I'll train the rest. You got a good
Right.
attitude, way ahead of the game, in my opinion.
Yeah. If you got a good attitude and you're coachable, you can learn
Yeah,
whatever you want to as long as you're willing to apply it and take a little bit of constructive criticism. You got to be able to take a little bit of criticism as well. Whether good or
absolutely.
bad. So have you trained sales teams? Have you been in that aspect of it?
Absolutely. I've done that for really since not too far after I started selling. I was sales, not technically a sales trainer, but designated as a sales training person. So, and I love it. I love doing that. That's one of my most favorite things is to watch people grow. You can tell, and I know you've probably seen this, is like when they make it and a light bulb goes on for them,
Hmm.
it never changes. They'll never forget that moment. Just like I was telling you about Rod Kovar, my mentor, who would just let me fail, just sit there and then go out and tell me what did we do right, what did we do wrong.
Right.
Once you get it, it never goes. It's like you make whatever example you want, riding a bike, falling off a log, it never goes away, and you know exactly how to get back to that spot every time.
Yeah, it's important. And another thing that's really important is just training every day. A lot of salespeople get into
Yeah,
sales and they think that, I got this, I can do this, I know how to sell. I can sell ice to an Eskimo, stuff like that. It's like maybe you can, but can you sell this product to this person, or can you sell this service to this business? Because we're not selling ice and Eskimo. We're selling a service to a company that's already using the service and probably going to have to pay more for our service just to get us in the door. So, selling.
yeah.
You know what? Have you ever sold a service? or have you always sold, a tangible product?
I mean, not really. I've sold, uh, kind of ancillary sold services like repair services with equipment, but not
Gotcha.
that all kind of came as a package. That really selling services by itself, no, nothing. I've always sold tangible equipment.
It's a little different. That's all I've ever sold. Well, I mean, I've other than like some supplements and stuff in the past, but like that's really all I know nowadays. It's a lot of people struggle with it. It's not as easy because you have to buy into, like, say our company, we're a split model. So we have like an operations group, then we have a sales group. So our sales group is selling our operations. So the first thing you have to do is sell yourself on our operations being good, are doing what you say they're going to do. So everyone kind of
Right.
has to understand what we do as a company, as a conveyor belt, as we would call it, um, and then know you're part of the conveyor belt when you need to actually do something. And it starts with sales, because the sales, we go out and we grab the freight and we put it at the beginning of the conveyor belt, and then it goes down the line. But we got to be able to like create that vision to the customer that we're approaching, to let them know we won't be handling it, but our team will be handling it. So it's a little bit
Yep.
different and not as easy, but I feel like if you can sell a service, you'll be able to sell whatever you want to moving forward, as long as you believe in what it is that you're selling. 'Cause that's very important as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've worked for some companies that had products I didn't believe in, and it never went well. Just never did. You know,
So there's a
and
question.
the thing I hate is
So go
just,
ahead.
you know, and I know as salespeople, we always get this knock is that I can't lie. I mean, I can't lie to people. I have lied to people. I'm not going to say I haven't never done that, but it sucks, man, to have to tell somebody something that isn't true.
Right.
Uh, and that, quite frankly, is one of the things for me that's made me more successful than anything. You just tell people the truth, and they respect you more for it because they know they're getting the real deal. You know,
Yeah. No.
you may not get you may not get the sale today. It may take you a while, but if you can tell, it's not. And I have one example that always sticks in my mind. If you got a second, I'll tell it to you.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Um, it's about if you want to be being honest in sales. I was working on a big deal. This was oh probably in the '90s, early '90s. It was like $1 million deal at a hospital in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and I got really tight with the radiologist there. He was a great guy, and I'd go see him because I was driving 3 states: Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, every day. I was in the car, so when I'd come
Right.
back, I was going back home to Baton Rouge. I would stop in and see him, and if he was there at 12 o'clock at night, I would stop in and see him at 12 o'clock at night when I was driving back, because he was still working. And I had a great relationship with him, and I had a I had an inkling we were going to probably get this deal, but and then at the last minute, things changed and the
Mm.
specifications changed for the project. Then I went to him one afternoon and I said, "Doc, this ain't going to fit for what we're doing." He's like, "What do you mean? You're going to get the deal?" I said, "Yeah, it's going to be great for a day when I got the deal, and then what? Then I got to service it after that, and it's not going to be pretty." And so I backed out.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, and I can tell you, my boss wasn't, and I was close with my boss too. He's like, and he wasn't happy about that. I'm like, it's just the right thing to do. Well, I'll be damned if 2 weeks later he calls me up, because he also had a private imaging center. He
Sure.
didn't just work at the hospital; he had his own place, and we equipped that whole place out. It was 1.2 million. It was more than the deal we were originally working on. All because he knew he could trust that I was telling him the right thing. That's the only
Sure.
reason we got that deal. So it goes a
Trust
long way.
trust is rapport. Trust is rapport.
Yeah.
I truly believe that if you can build confidence, and what's Grant always say, build certainty. If you can build certainty within the customer, in you and your product and your service, whatever it might be, maybe it's just your trust. They're going to work with you for a long time.
Yes, they will.
Um, and I'm out here tooting the horn of in non-solicits, in non-competes, and you might not know anything that's going on in our industry of logistics, but there's companies that go around, they're talking about ending non-competes, and hey, I'm for it. But those same companies have extremely long non-solicits. It's like, dude, you're saying end non-competes, but you're also, pigeonholing these people into the same thing with the non-solicit. Like, it's kind of misleading a little bit, and I'm trying to bring that to attention and to clarify that for more people, because that right there is not being transparent. It's not being
Right.
dishonest, but it's not being extremely truthful, which I guess you don't have to be if you don't want to be, but it's definitely
Yeah.
misleading.
And non-solicit meaning I can't call on an existing customer that I had before, right? I can
Sure.
go work
Yeah.
for somebody else, but I just can't call on the customers I had before.
Yeah. So some logistics companies, they're big on the non-compete, so they don't even want you working in transportation, period. So they're trying to get rid of that, and good for them. It really doesn't hold up in Tennessee, so we don't really care. But the non-solicits, the non-solicits, that's got a big deal. And if you sign that, especially if you're coming out of high school, or not high school, but college,
Oh,
well,
right.
either. But if you're coming out of college and you sign this piece of paper for this job that you're getting paid $30,000 and a good commission, and you think it's going to be a pretty good career in logistics, and
Yep.
you sign all these pieces of paper not caring because you're a college kid that doesn't care about paperwork, and then you get locked into a non-solicit where you're stuck somewhere for 2 years, that's a big deal when you decide to leave, whether it's because they fire you or you just didn't like that place, or maybe you got a better opportunity in a different city or a different state. It doesn't matter. They're still going to lock you into that binding contract of you can't solicit any of the customers. My only knack on it is, like, say you bring in a customer and the customer is there because of you, that customer should be able to go
Yeah.
with you wherever you want to. Now, everything previous, I don't agree with. That should stay with the company. That should be protected. That should, you know, put
Yeah.
money into the other people's pockets that are employees of that company. Protect that family of the company. But if it's your customer and you brought it on, and that's the only reason why it's there, they should have
Hmm.
the right to go with you if they want to. That's just my opinion.
Hard to disagree with that. I mean, you killed it. You're going to eat it. You should be able to continue to eat it. So there's no reason that they shouldn't be able to do that. I agree. I've seen your posts
Well,
on that. Now I get it. Now I get
yeah.
where you're coming from.
Yeah, and the only people that disagree are the people that own, found, or run these companies. That's the only
Yeah.
people that disagree with me. And
Right.
it's like, well, yeah, because you're out of the day to day. You're no longer selling. You're no longer keeping relationships. You don't care about it. It's not important enough to you anymore to have a relationship with each and every customer. So you're going to pigeonhole these people by making them sign binding contracts and say, if you land something, you got it because you worked for this company. Not really, bro. That's not
Yeah. No,
that's not they
I
landed it
agree.
because they wanted to work with that individual. So yeah, I mean
Absolutely.
so I'm out here running my mouth about all that, trying to stir up as much controversy as I can. I like confrontation. I like conflict. It's fun.
I'm sure you get all the sales guys on your side. That's for sure.
Yeah, but well, there's some that's not, and I think they're just misinformed. They don't understand because honestly, I don't really know what a non-solicit is. I don't even know what a non-compete is. So I'm having a lawyer on tomorrow. His name's Matthew. He goes by the armchair attorney, and he's going to break down non-competes and he's going to break down non-solicits. He's going to inform me so that I can holster my weapons and start shooting my shots at all these people in the industry and actually know what I'm talking about with a lawyer behind my back. So
Awesome.
I'm,
Awesome.
I'm just ready for somebody to prove me wrong. That's all I need to know. I want to be publicly humiliated by somebody. That's my goal. If somebody can do that, that'd be fantastic.
Somebody might even try.
They might. Hey, they might. We could always get in a pro wrestling match. Hey, so you're big. You're big into going to conferences and forever learning and doing all this stuff. What are some of the best ones you've been to that you'd recommend other sales professionals get into as well?
As a matter of fact, after I fly to Dallas today, I'm flying to Orlando, and
Okay.
I'm gonna go to a gentleman by the name of Joe Pici, Pici. I've been to a couple of his boot camps. I'm actually going for a refresher on one. This is a speaking boot camp, so it's platform speakers. What do you do? How do you do it? How do you get on stages? That kind of thing. I really,
Cool.
really want to do that kind of stuff, on a bigger scale. So
Yeah.
he's really, really super at that. He also has a process to a sales process using the phone. It's called rapport mastery, and it is really good. I was not, absolutely not, and I know Grant was a guy like this too. Scripted calls. I hated them, didn't want to do it because I wanted to let my personality be my personality, blah, blah, blah. But then you get off into, you take yourself off into a different world when you should be focused on exactly what you're supposed to be focused on, and that is the script. And I tell you, this is, just a few years ago. when I started doing this. It really tightened up my messaging. It made me more efficient on the phone, and it made me more sales. Just flat out honest.
So Joe is actually coming on the show Monday. He's gonna do the podcast. I'm pretty
He's
sure.
a,
I'm pretty.
by the way, he is. I haven't seen him as a floor speaker. I've seen him teaching, and he's one of the best speakers I've ever seen. He's really, really good, man.
Yeah, so he's coming on the show Monday morning because he told me that he had a real
That's
busy
funny.
weekend coming up, and to
Yeah,
tell him
I'm
that,
gonna go down to see. That's funny. That is so funny, man. I
yeah.
didn't know.
So he's
I didn't
coming on.
realize you guys had talked.
Yeah, so we definitely talked. He reached out as soon as I think you put us in touch, or you tagged me
I
in a
did.
message, and boom, he reached out immediately. So yeah, we've talked a couple times. He sent me all of his information, and I was like, hey man, I mean, I don't I don't know if I can get down there, but I'd love to have you on the show. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. Let's do it. So I was like, all right, cool. So
Yeah, he's
so
the
you're
real
talking about a
deal, man. He's
script.
good.
I can't wait to have him. He seems like he's legit. I watched some of his YouTube stuff, and it's really good. So you talk about a script, and listen, I believe in a script too. But when you tell people that about a script, or even people that have a little bit of sales experience, or they think they have sales experience, they go, a script? I don't need a script. I know what I'm talking about. And I get it. I do get it. And
Guilty.
I'm not saying you need word for word exactly what you should say if you know what you're talking about. But if you don't know what you're talking about, you definitely need word for word exactly what you're saying. And it's just going to keep you tight, right? It's going to keep you tight. So you started using a script just a few years ago.
A few years ago, yeah. And it was
So would
because
you?
of Peachy. That's the
wh-
and he kept drilling it in. I'm like, all right, I'll start using it. And it was just to give you a quick snap. But when he does his training on the third day of his rapport mastery program, you make live phone calls. You're making it live with him there, and they start tracking everything. And it was evident after the first 10 calls. It was like, yeah, this is a lot better, a
So
lot
does he
better.
help you? I'm sure I'll talk to him, but does he help you
Yeah, sure.
break down your script for your field
Yeah, yeah,
at the boot camp?
yes,
And then
sir.
that's kind of the script you use moving forward?
That's exactly the one. That's the one you use on day 3.
Really?
Yeah, it's really good.
Huh.
Really good.
I'm gonna try to get. He said he has another one coming up in October that I'm gonna try to get down to, I believe.
Right.
Uh,
I
so
might meet you down there.
yeah, I'm gonna try my best to make that happen. I got birthdays in October. I know I have to be around,
I got you.
or I'll get killed. But other than that, if I can make it around that, I can definitely get down there. I've already got other conferences lined up. I'm going. Do you know who Andy Elliott is?
No.
The sales trainer. So he's an automotive sales trainer. He's bringing Brad Lee in. So the guy that created Lightspeed, he's bringing Brad Lee in for a full day training in Scottsdale, Arizona in June. I'm going to it, so that should be pretty good
That's
and
one I
pretty
would like to
intense.
probably go to. I like Bradley, man. He
Yeah,
is the real Bradley.
he is. He's cool, calm, suave. He's got it going on for sure when it comes to sales. He's selling you, and he's not even really trying, but he is. He knows what he's doing. He's got his own formula down. I'll tell you that much.
Yep, that's right.
Well, what else, man? What else are you into as far as like the whole game here? Or is there anybody else that you're kind of looking to as mentors or grabbing information from, or what else you got?
I'm a book guy. I'm mostly a book guy. I like attending conferences, but I'm mostly a book guy. 2 books that I would highly recommend. One is by a guy by the name of Chet Holmes called The Ultimate Sales Machine. Pretty thin book, easy to read, lays it out pretty solidly. He actually worked. He wound up hooking up with Tony Robbins after a while, and
Really?
they had a the business mastery course they taught was his stuff. He
Huh?
unfortunately died unexpectedly of cancer, but
Wow.
yeah, it was unfortunate. He was a great guy, but that stuff is out there. I can sure give you some links to it. And there's certainly the book is available anywhere. And the
Sure,
other
I'll
one would
check it out.
be Influence by Robert Cialdini. Influence, I think, in my yeah, this is obviously an opinion, is the best sales book ever written, and it wasn't designed to be
Really?
a sales book. It was a book on an influence and how people are influenced and motivated. It is, and he was a social psychologist at the University of Arizona, I believe. And what he'd do, he would take jobs with companies that were selling. Like he would be a waiter, he would watch waiters, he would watch like door to door vacuum cleaner salesman, and he would get he actually I think also watched the what was the ones at the airport, the religious Hare Krishnas at the airports back in the day when they would
Yeah.
give a flower, and they would get you donations, and how you watched the interaction, what they were doing. It's a great book. His name's Robert Cialdini. It's called Influence, the Science of Persuasion, I believe is the actual title of it. Great
Huh.
book. I got into that one. I couldn't put it down. It's like I just kept going, kept going. It's like, yeah. And, uh,
Well, I'll
he
definitely check that out.
he said he wrote it as a book so that you wouldn't be influenced by these things. And I think it was the reverse. People were using it to try to influence other people. So
Huh.
great book.
That's the biggest thing, right? If you can learn persuasion, you can learn how to influence people based off like basic psychology. There's a lot to that. See, I actually learned a lot of that from pro wrestling because pro wrestling is psychology because you got to be able to sway people's emotions. So
All right.
if you can take the psychology of being a performer in a ring and put it through the phone somehow with a little bit of charisma and product knowledge, dude, sales is not that hard, honestly.
It's
As far
not.
as like
It's not.
when you're talking to like the main people, the hardest part about sales is getting to the person you got to talk to. It's not the closing, I don't think. It's the prospecting and phone marketing till you get to the person you actually got to sell. That's the hardest part.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I think not that closing isn't important, but when you're there. When everybody, I mean, both parties know, like, I'm going to buy from you.
Yep.
Does it happen that they turn around and flip around and buy from somebody else? Sure, it happens.
Yeah.
But most of the time, when you got a deal, you know what's
Oh
going to
yeah.
happen.
Oh yeah. Well, Joe, we're at 45 minutes, so we'll wrap this up. I know you're
Awesome.
busy. You got a bunch of sales calls to make, and you got places to be, people to see. I know you're busy. Um, but I'm going to ask this question to everybody that I bring on here, especially for the LinkedIn videos. What's one tip that you would give somebody young or maybe older that's jumping into sales? What's one tip you'd give them to kind of hit the ground running?
Okay, let me think about this one for a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say if your company is not training you, get training. And it can be Cardone, Peachy. Pick up a book, do something, and get into it, and then try to get a process down, because it took. I was an anti-process guy for a long time. I could wing it because I thought I was good enough to be able to wing it, and I probably cost myself literally millions of dollars by doing that and not putting a process together. And once you got the process, honestly, I don't care whose process it is. If you have a process, then look at other people's processes and modify yours. And then once you get that and you systematize it, you got money in the bank. But train. You
Boom.
got you got to train, man. It's just like football. It's the same. It's athletics and sales are very similar. Very, very
Very
similar.
similar.
Take care of your body, do the right things. And that's probably the third thing I would say too is I spent I took that exuberance in college for drinking and having a good time into sales, and it was a good time. And I cost myself another few $1 million by doing that.
Right. Well, the best thing you can do is you can take care of your body, make sure your mind's sharp, make sure your body feels good, blood's flowing. You have the
Yep,
confidence to be able to wear the clothes that you want to wear to be able to look good. A lot of people don't even want to dress nice because they don't look nice in the clothes that they're wearing. And I get it. I do
agreed.
get it. So, I mean, that's one of the big reasons about, I mean, dude, you look back, people every day, women, guys, they all used to dress up nice, like suits, like walking
Absolutely.
down Wall Street back in the 30s. Like, get out of here, man. Now people are walking around with just t-shirts and shorts on. And I was one of those guys. I had to get myself out of that as well. But you just look better if you look professional or look dressed up like you're in a uniform, like you're playing a sport. You don't play a sport in just shorts and t-shirt. You play a sport in the uniform that you're supposed to be in to
Yep,
play that sport. Show up like you know what you're doing. Show up like you've been there before.
couldn't agree. Look, I got a hoodie on, threw a jacket on.
There you go.
You know,
I know this is one of the few days I don't even have my jacket on, but I
I
figured
know I've
at
seen
least at
you in your
college.
previous ones. I've seen you every time. Yeah, I think dressing up. It's funny. I was looking at some old photographs uh, of my dad and my mom going to LSU football games back in the '60s. completely dressed up, like they were
I
going
bet.
to, going to see the president. And it was just,
Yeah.
my mom had gloves on and high heels. I'm like,
Yeah.
nobody goes to a game like that anymore,
Yeah.
man.
No, no, they don't. But hey, man, hey, it was a blast having you on. I know we're both busy, so I'll let us get back to it. Let's
See you,
get you
man.
back on maybe here in a few months and catch up and talk about some other stuff. All right.
Got it. Thanks so much.
See you, Joe. See you, man.
See you. Bye-bye.